Excellent. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to PMF Connect. My name is Julia. I'm head of product at Product Management Festival. Probably you already know a lot about Product Management Festival. If not, I'm going to share shortly a bit of information before I switch to Sultan, our special guest for today. I just want to mention, first of all, that today's edition of PMF Connect is a special one. So first of all, it's the last edition before we do Product Management Festival, which is going to be this year a totally hybrid conference, online and a bit in person. And not only that, but today's edition is done in collaboration with Miro, which in case you don't know, I definitely recommend you look into it. Miro is a super cool tool. It's an online collaborative whiteboard platform which helps teams collaborate, work real time together. And not only the product is amazing. So if you're a product manager, I totally recommend you have a look at it and try to work with it. But at PMF, we've been interacting now with Miro since a few months. And I have to say, they have a very cool young team. They're super driven. They're based in the Netherlands, and they are very, very, very like results oriented, and it's a great atmosphere. So this is the plug I'm going to make. Miro is also recruiting. So if you're interested in finding out more about what they're offering, I completely recommend you checking their career page. I'm going to share some details at the end of the presentation. And of course, if you have any questions, our guest today is Surprise working there as well, so he can share more. And before I introduce him, I just want to say a bit about PMF, where we're doing this events online. So what's the goal? What's the purpose of today and all the events you can check out. So just shortly, I'm gonna let everybody in, the people who are also join us a bit later. So PMF is a conference. We're doing a lot of, sorry about that. We're doing a lot of events online and offline. Since the quarantine, we've been focusing a bit more in doing events online. So everything we had before, which was in person, has now somehow translated also in the virtual world. So we are doing PM nights since over 5 years now in all over the world, and our PM nights are now also virtually. So if you're based in a location, you can check our website. We're doing them regularly, so there's a group of people from that area who are getting together. But in these circumstances, you can as well join the events even if you're in other locations. We just try to keep the community together and help them grow. I know that there are a lot of challenges currently, so we just want to help everybody go through successfully and yeah, be successful as a product manager and with the products they're building. And our biggest events are actually the conferences on which we really pivoted. So our biggest PMF conference, PM Product Management Festival, based usually in Zurich, is still going to happen this year. It's going to be online. And we've been super blessed to see that we managed to reach out actually a lot of participants which usually had maybe a hard time to travel to Zurich. So we have participants from as far as New Zealand and South Africa who will join this year for the conference. Otherwise, during the year, we also do survey. It's called Product Management Trends and Benchmarks survey, and we publish a report with all the results. We want to help people learn from each other. We know that the profession is really new as it is defined these years. So maybe product management has existed since 20, 30 years, but in the digital world, it's quite a new profession. So there aren't a lot of books they're being written as we're speaking. So the goal of this report, which is absolutely free, the only thing we're asking of you is to fill it out when we're sending out the survey, is to help you learn from each other and see what others are doing, and the power of the group and exchanging information. Otherwise, we also have a executive circle, which is basically a meetup for product leaders. So we know the challenges at that level are different, and they're more around how to build a successful team, how to make sure that your team is building the right product. So maybe you're focused less on the day-to-day business, and you're more focused on the people you're working with and how to make them the most successful at their job. So we're also doing that. There's one just before PMF this year. So on the 10th of November, there's an event like this, but it's going to be invitation only. So if you haven't received, we have sent out the invitations. If you haven't received an invitation, please write us. To attend this meeting, you need to be leading a product team. So because the topics there are more for this type of audience, you need to lead a product team. But if you're interested in joining, just write us a short note. And I just want to mention that we're also running a product management executive program with INSEAD. It's a 1 week complete immersion in what it means to be a great product leader. INSEAD is a great institution, and our guest today can actually vouch for that because he has an MBA from INSEAD. If you want to know more as well, check out our website, write us, we can share some information about it. Otherwise, we're preparing for the big event. So our conference is as big as always, only that it will be mostly online. So our attendees will probably be online, and most of our speakers will be online. Sultan, our speaker from today, will as well be there. So if you like what you hear, he will share even more during PMF. So join us. We have online tickets. So for people who know they can only join the conference online, that is available on our website. We're also offering for this wonderful community a discount code you can use. And if you are a group of product managers, so if there's a group of product managers in your company who wants to join, we're totally willing to make a special package for you. We understand that maybe budgets are now limited, restricted, but that's no excuse to stop learning. So I totally encourage you to write us. We've always been a strong supporter of startups, of students. There's no limitation for you if you want to learn. We have an open community. We have a lot of wonderful sponsors who sometimes are sponsoring tickets for people who cannot afford to buy them. So just write us. There's nothing which can stop you. If you're interested in attending PMF, we have a way for you to do it. So that's it from my side. I'm very, very happy to introduce you to Sultan. Sultan has been actually a very involved person in all PMF activities. So he spoke for the first time during our conference in Singapore 2 years ago. He will speak this year as well as at PMF. He really wanted to do this PMF Connect, and he has extensive experience as mostly successful product managers. He has an entrepreneurial background. He built his own company, an e-commerce company, which he sold. So I think you can learn a lot from him, and he's here for you 1 hour available. So if you have any kind of questions, any type of questions, there's going to be a Q&A at the end. You can write your questions during his presentation, and we're going to make sure that these questions are answered. And his focus today is about how to move to platform products. Sultan is leading product at Miro, but he also worked for quite a while at booking.com. So he knows a lot about platforms. And with that being said, I would like to pass on to Sultan. So Sultan, thank you again so much for being with us today, and the floor is yours.
Thanks, Julia, and thanks, everyone. I'm glad to have you here in the PMF Connect session today. I'm just gonna be, Julia, I need some
Yep.
Nice to share this.
Sure.
So one quick story before we start about remote work. So I'm working from home, remote. That's my remote setup. And today everything was ready. I was days. I have lots of meetings, which are back-to-back meetings for me. And everything was ready for me, but at some point electricity went out. The internet just shut down. At the meeting I had to switch to mobile connection. And it worked for some time until I got out of my bundle. In Netherlands, it's not as, as affordable to have unlimited package. So I just go for 7 gigabytes. And it just went out. And I thought already that I should inform Yulia, hey, this is not going to happen. But luckily there is a co-working place just next to my house, and I'm here now. It's quite empty, maybe 10 people in the whole building, but the internet connection is there. I have coffee, I have the lights and electricity. So that's the luck. The learning is that remote work is great until you have electricity. Right, and one more thing before we start is that that's connect session, and I see it as the way for us to communicate, to discuss things, and I hope you will be as engaged as possible. So let's make this session dynamic. I will have placements when we can discuss things and discuss the learnings that I share with you. So please feel free to unmute yourself and ask a question, or just share your question in the chat. All right. I'm going to talk about platform products and my personal experience with that and learnings that I got, and a little bit about myself, my career. I have, as Yulia mentioned, quite extensive experience with product management, and somehow this experience was always connected to marketplaces. So I had my own company in Kazakhstan that I started, and it was like a small startup with 5 people sitting in the room, and it grew into a 150 people company across several countries before I had the opportunity to exit, and I did. Then I ended up at some point with Booking.com, where I led different products, such as just conversion-driven funnel products of the marketplace, then ending with the payments product, which was completely different. And beginning of this year, I decided to take the chance and move to Miro. And I'm going to be talking about mostly experience within Miro, because that's where I got the platform product experience. But one thing that I want to do is I want to engage with you. So I have prepared a small exercise for all of us so that we don't just sit and watch and listen. Let's do and engage together in this session. So what I propose to do is using the link I'm going to share now in the chat. Just go there. You don't need to register in Miro. You don't need to have an account. You can go and directly collaborate with me in here. So what I propose to do is share where you are. It's a small exercise that would make everyone feel engaged. So I share here that I'm based in Amsterdam, in Europe. Let's see where we are, all of us. We're at 27 people, and I think in this session we have 40 plus.
55 now.
55, yeah. So around 50%. It's growing. Great. Okay, so someone is moving the things. Let me correct that quickly. Oh, wow. I expected something like that, actually. No, not should be here. So what you can do to do that, you need to use the select function in here, and you need to just drag and drop the dot from left to right. You can also draw, you can collaborate with me, but that's the quick thing that I did within Miro using the internal tools and the map that I downloaded from Google. So what I see is lots of us are in Europe. Some of us are in Asia, probably is it Singapore, and one person in the US and one person somewhere in the Atlantic Ocean. That's
The
great.
middle of the ocean.
Great. I think that's a great representation of PMF. PMF is great in Europe, and more to be done probably in Americas and probably Africa as well. So, way to go. Right. That was a small exercise. Coming back to my learnings, and I want to start with Miro first. What you did now was a product of the company, and it allows distributed teams work on the whiteboard as if you are sitting in one room, which is great. And I think that's very relevant to the current state um, of of our work. And when I joined the company, I didn't know the company was already that big. Moving from Booking.com, I thought it would be, just a startup where I will be wearing so many hats and doing everything that I can do, and it will be occupying all of my time, including weekends. But essentially, the company is quite developed. We have close to 400 people across 3 hubs. I'm based in Amsterdam, but we have teams in the US, in the West Coast mostly, and in Russia. We have 9 million registered users. That's a lot, and it's growing quite fast. And when people ask, okay, the company is just in the right time, in the right place, but the company started 9 years ago. What it means that the company probably knew that that would happen, and they decided to be in the right time in 2020. So they went through the whole journey of setting up the product, trying there and there, and coming up with what Miro is at the moment, one of the leaders in the online collaboration space. And 2020 is a great year. And that's the year when I decided to take a move and go from Booking to Miro, but it's also a year of COVID. It's a year of rise of remote, as we call it. And rise of remote is super interesting to the company, because the company had defined the strategy for the whole year in January 2020. And then the whole strategy, they had to just throw it away because it was completely not relevant anymore already in March and April. So a lot of things were changed. There was a lot of more demands and a lot more customers. And it's quite interesting to be part of this company at the moment. Now, the product management for platform products and setting up just the terms. I just want to emphasize my understanding of what is the difference between product management and platform product management. So for product management, just simplifying, you focus on driving everything possible to grow your product. And for platform product management, you drive ecosystem that allows others to build on top of your platform. So that's the difference. And I think one more way to show the composition and how platform product management maybe is different is the team composition. In general, when you're talking about the platform that is externally facing, you would have the user experience side, so teams that do everything possible to get the adoption of what is built on top of platform. You have the developer experience side. So providing documentation, flows, everything that would help developers to understand what is platform and what is the value of that and build on top of that. Then you have the connection that does developer relations. So their ambassadors, they talk about the benefits and value and deliver this message to developers so that they understand and come and engage with the platform. And you have platform foundations, as we call them, but that's all about the the basement. Based on that, you have the platform product, and that's a lot about APIs, SDKs, the infrastructure, and the data. And finally, we have the product marketing. Product marketing does essentially the go-to-market strategy for the platform. There are several reasons why platforms are becoming more and more popular, and why companies think that it's a good idea to invest into platforms. And for me, the first thing, given that I'm mostly user-focused product manager, I'm thinking about the user experience. So take an example of any product-led organization. You usually have the normal distribution, normal curve distribution of your focus, where you put the resources. So what it means that you identify the core functions, the core features of your product, where you want to invest. And these core features drive the most benefit for your company. And there is usually a long tail of other features where you don't put enough effort and you don't explore that much. So for us, we identified that there is a lot of needs actually from the user perspective to make the product that would work for them. From the enterprise point of view, that's also about connection to internal systems, so that you can make the new product that you're trying to use a part of your internal ecosystem. So it's a lot about tailoring your product towards the user needs. And second one for me is about scalability. And scalability is super connected to the first point. Because if you want to go and explore, if you have actually different hypes in your normal distribution where you also want to invest, and there's like a set of features that also bring value to your company, and that's something that in the long term can make your company even more sustainable, you would think, how do we allocate resources? So for us, we decided not to do everything ourselves. For us, it was do more with less. That's why through platform, we can achieve scalability. Third one is about community, and community is twofold. One is about creating the community of developers, community of professionals and users that would help each other. And then they would promote your product on behalf of you, so that you don't need to actually spend your own resources to do that. And community is vital for platforms. Then the last one is about innovation. Innovation comes from all the unexpected areas. And we always see that in the area we never thought about, something comes up through external developers, and all of a sudden that becomes a big part of your product. So innovation is vital, and through platform you can multiply it by many times, and you will see it in the long run as a big sustainability benefit for your product and your company. So that's in the end all about ecosystem, all about community. And that's a long-term game, actually, that I want to emphasize later on in my talk. All right, I think it's time to maybe engage at the moment. If you can go back to the board as I shared with you, let me share it again. Okay, I'm going to share the link again. Please come to the board. I will unhide this section. I see that someone just tried to draw something on the board. I can delete that. All right. If you come to this section, what I want to understand is how many of us actually have some connection to platform products. So what you can do is to drag and drop the sticky from right to left and share with us if you think you work on the platform product or not. So I put here Miro, and Miro is a platform product. Are you part of platform product as well or not? And please share the name of the company as well.
I think it would be cool. Hans Ben asked us, what is your definition of platform? So maybe for those of us who are confused if we're working on a platform product or not, do you have some indicators what the platform means?
Yeah, I think that's a very good question. Let me go back to this. So if I go back to that, I think it will be easier for me to clarify what I mean by platform product. And there are different definitions. There is also a platform product that can be just internally facing. And there is also a part that would be externally facing. So what I'm talking here is all about externally facing platform product. So imagine you have Miro, and that's the product that I have at the moment. So you are on the whiteboard, and that's the main product of your company, right? So you have all the product teams that focus on improving features. So for example, the presentation feature, the drawing feature, the text field feature, and they do it internally. So everything is done internally. What we do also in Miro is that we created a layer of APIs that we can give outside of Miro to external developers. And external developers all of a sudden can come and use our APIs to build on top of our product. So for example, they can add, this is an example of an app that was developed by external developer. It's a planning broker app. So all of a sudden, all this set of tools that can be created through the platform comes to your product, and it comes through external sources. So you don't need to invest yourself. You invest into ecosystem, and ecosystem creates more features and much wider variations of the features on top of your platform. So that's the definition of the platform. Another platform example would be Google Maps. So they also give away the APIs that enable external companies to use the Google Map inside their product. So they can embed Google Maps inside the product and work with that. Facebook is a platform as well. They have a platform for advertisers. Slack is a platform. Within Slack, you can create like for example, in Miro, we use an app that is developed on top of Slack, and it's called PTO Ninja, quite a weird name. But what it does, through this app, you can connect to internal HR tools and request a holiday, for example. And then the request goes to manager approves, And all of that is automatically stored in the HR systems. Does it answer the question about definition of platforms?
To me, absolutely. I think Hans Bernd should tell us if it answers to him as well. Hans Bernd, if you want, you can also unmute yourself and chat with us.
Yes, thank you, Sultan. In my view, there are not only the kind of platforms that you describe, which I would call technology platforms, but there are also marketplace platforms, right? That is more about commerce, exchange between players. Is that part of your definition as well?
Yes and no. I would agree that all those marketplaces and they are platforms. But here I'm talking about a very specific subset, which is becoming more and more not only popular, but also important to consider, and which is about creating something, some layer, as I mentioned, of technical capabilities that would enable external companies and developers to build on top of your platform. So that's the subset that I'm talking about today.
Okay. Thank you.
I mean, in the end, it's all about the economies of scope and scale, and about sharing some components across stakeholders. And as a platform provider, you basically connect different stakeholders, and they can build on shared components. And in this case, they could maybe build on shared components that are available over API, or maybe on over other channels, I would say.
I think that's exactly it. And one more point is that there is one more variation of platform products, and it's internally facing product. So imagine, let's say I worked before at Booking on the payments, on the payment side, and we had internal platform that served internal teams with all the components, APIs that would enable internal teams only to do their work in a more scalable way. And that would be also a platform product, but it would be a bit different to what I'm talking about today. I'm talking about something that is externally facing and and something that you promote actually outside of your company. Right. Any more questions about definition and why building products from a platform perspective is beneficial? I think this discussion is amazing, and sometimes I think it's very related to these kind of questions. Okay, what is product management? What is the scope of product management? There are so many ways to describe it, and in different areas you will have different definition. There is also difference between product owner and product manager, and the same for platform. It takes so many shapes and definitions that it's hard to focus if you don't specify the exact definition for your team and for your company. All right, so my journey so far, and just to reiterate, I joined the company beginning of the year. So I'm still learning, and I'm keen to learn from you today. Again, please unmute yourself, share your thinking, and let's engage with that. So the first thing that I want to do is some kind of comparison between the marketplace, because I'm coming from booking.com, and as was mentioned today, just now, that marketplace can be a version of a platform. I still differentiate between these two. and I want to clarify what is the difference for me. And the first one is about goal. So what is the goal for marketplace? I think it's all about transactions, all about conversion. Because what is the goal of marketplace is to get supply, get demand, and connect these two so that you create value for that, for both sides of the marketplace. And for ecosystem, the end goal is longer term. It's not about the next quarter increase in adoption of APIs, for example. It is more than that. It's about ecosystem and creating the community around your product that would create the self-sustained development of your company and your product. Then it also, the difference is about value. And that's my subjective view. I think marketplace is all about matching demand and supply. And that's how the value is created by marketplaces. While for platform, it's also about matching supply and demand, because we have the user side of the platform. But you also need to provide all the services that would enable the creation of things on top of your platform. And that's also about providing data. That's an example of how I use this small framework when I joined the company and when I did the market analysis. So I took these three buckets and tried to understand where we are as Miro platform and where the benchmarks are. And the benchmarks for me were the Google Maps platform, the Facebook, Atlassian, and Slack, for example. And I tried to understand what is the gap between us and them. But then very important to look into the lighters as well. What would differentiate your platform from others? Those could be very small things, but they would be so recognizable, and they would make it easier for you to say hey, I have the platform. That's why as a developer, it should be interesting for you to come and engage with us. Right, and then when you have the value, it's also about how value is distributed. Again, very subjective view, but in my view, the marketplaces, they mostly get the value for themselves. They for sure distribute the value to partners and users, to both sides, but most of it in the long run stays with the marketplace. While for platform products, I think they cannot afford keeping the value only for themselves because of just the end goal they are looking for. And the end goal again is about creating the ecosystem. And I think the players, the members of the ecosystem, they will easily recognize that, hey, something is wrong. I don't get as much of value as I should be getting, and they will not stay on the platform in the long run. So that's why I think the value is more evenly distributed between users, developers, and also the platform itself. And I think it's also interesting to look into challenges, and challenge also goes to the goals of marketplaces and platforms. So looking at Booking, I don't work there anymore, but having checked the open resources, I know that around 30 million listings there on Booking.com, and Booking.com has around 400 million visitors per month, which is a lot, but it was in 2018. And probably now the situation is a bit different, but still, I think the main challenge for them becomes about matching demand and supply, because demand and supply are already there. And for platform, the challenges are the same. You still need to get too much demand and supply. But throughout my months in here in Miro platform, I identified the three main challenges. And those are the guidelines, the incentives, and the risks. And I will just go and talk about them in a bit more detail. So first of all, it's about guidelines. When you create a platform, you always have in mind, hey, I want this set of good things should come and be developed on the platform so that they're accessible to my developer, to my users, sorry. And what about all those not so good things that you don't want to have on your product? And the APIs, the features, the SDKs, they will emphasize what is possible, while the developer terms of use would clarify what is permissible. So that's why developer terms of use is a big part of any platform. They define what you can do on the product, and that's an example from Slack. That's a big list of all the checklists, all the terms, all the guidelines that you need to review just to be able to submit your application to be published. And within each of these topics, you have like a bunch of checklists that you need to go through. And second part is also about the pricing, because imagine someone develops a tool through your platform that would compete to your internal tool. And this internal tool is part of the drivers that bring monetization for your product. So that's also a competing, I would say, priorities, because on one hand, you want monetization, on the other hand, you want engagement in your ecosystem. So it's also about innovation. If you have developer terms too strict, you will limit innovation because you don't know where innovation comes from. Right, and then very important to look into incentives for developers. So why would they come and build something on your platform? There are many examples when, for example, I don't know, Google Maps was asked, hey, please give me this feature in your API so that I can build a better application. Then the team prioritizes, they releases the API feature and nothing happens. So developer marketing is a big part of platform. You need to deliver the message and make sure that developers know about what you are doing and what improvements you're bringing. But coming back to incentives, what we identified so far, there are 3 types, and it's fun and fame. So in the especially in the beginning, you have examples of developers that just like it. They like building things, and they like when what they build is used by someone. So that's a guy whose name is Max Harper, and he's quite engaged with our platform. He knows many people in the community, so he answers question, asks question in the community forum. He built several apps, and he knows most of our team because he contacted them, talked to them, and engaged in general. But what we understood is that at some point, for sure, they will start to ask questions like, what is it in the platform for me? And obviously, we have the direct monetization, so they can sell apps to users, and you also have opportunity to do partnerships and business development. So what it means is that they can publish an app, but this app would mostly bring customers to their main product. So for example, if they are consultants, they would be able to sell their consulting services by raising awareness about their company. And one more is about risks. If you open up something and you have, let's say, free market, there will be always some people that would try to trick the system. And what you can do is you can look into where the value is created. So there are 3 ways. You have the user value for developers, you have infrastructure value for developers, and you have data. So if you're looking at Facebook, then there is a chance that developers would try to steal information about users, for example. Don't forget about competitors, because through open APIs, they can essentially build a competing product that would be the same as yours, and they would be competing with yours directly. That would be weird, but that's a possibility. They can also get access to your users, get information about infrastructure and data, and they can put a load on the backend that would also question your reliability. So that's something to bear in mind. One more thing is about how we measure success. Given that it's a long-term game, how do we measure success? And I put here word adoption, but adoption can take many forms. But we don't look at the adoption of APIs. We don't want to consider API call number growth as the success metric. What we are looking at is the outcome. So if you build an ecosystem, it should give an outcome. An outcome for us is an app that is created on top of the platform and it's used. So we look at the adoption of applications that is built on top of our platform. Right. So before I continue, any questions or comments? Let me check chat.
So there's a bunch of them. Yep.
The easy one, what is WSLL? It's what success looks like. It's a good way for product managers to look at any project or improvements that they're doing. All right, from Marco.
Marco, do you want to unmute yourself and ask the question live?
Yeah, sure. Hi to everybody.
Hi.
Yeah, I was referring here in my little question. I was referring to your statement where you were saying marketplaces take most of the value for themselves, and my first thought was, if Apple in an app store or if Airbnb, they take 20% of the transaction, this doesn't sound like the majority of the value taken for themselves. So how would you put that into the context and into your thinking?
That's a great question. Again, it's my subjective view. I would say that App Store is a platform, while Airbnb, I would question that. It's more like a marketplace in my mind. And what I mean by marketplaces get most of the value is it's not only about money or immediate revenue that they get. It's also about where the customer goes next. So with Airbnb, it's a one-time transaction, and it's a benefit for the host to get a user, but next time the user will use again the Airbnb. And that's an example where the value is not distributed quite well. So Airbnb would not be super interested in creating loyalty for specific brands or specific host, right? That's something that I have in mind. And for App Store, they are in the beginning, if you know the story, they didn't think about App Store as the open ecosystem for developers. They wanted to build everything themselves, but then Steve Jobs at some point understood that it's not possible, and they opened up the ecosystem for external developers. And now they provide the ecosystem, and everyone else is building on top of that. And even though they have very strict terms, and you probably heard in the news, they're still providing lots of value, and there were multi-million and billion companies created on just on Apple Store. And so that's not something that could be possible on Airbnb. as an example. I'm not against Airbnb at all. Does it? And what do you think? Interested in your as well opinion, because again, it's my subjective view and you might have a different view.
Yeah, it's good to be subjective. Thanks a lot. No, I believe I understand you better now. Probably you're referring more to like this winner takes it all thing, where you won't have 100 Airbnbs, but you have one platform that takes all the customers. So you have this winner take it all platforms.
Yeah,
kind of. Okay.
I wouldn't say the Booking or Airbnb would be here and the winners take it all. But it's again to the point that I mentioned, that they are not interested in specific provider to be the most successful on their marketplace, and they're mostly thinking about the short term, in my mind, the short term transaction that should happen, and they don't care about how it would happen. It's like they just connect the supply and demand.
Yeah, they need transactions. That's where what they live from. Yeah. Cool. Thank you.
Thanks. And then anyone else wants?
I think there's another question from Sanjida. Yasmin? Is outcome, if outcome is the value the product gives to the company, you mean the impact of using the product? Sanjida, Yasmin, are you with us? If yes, would you like to unmute yourself and maybe give us some more details about what do you mean?
Hello, everyone. Yeah, it's Sanjida here.
Hello.
Hi, Sanjida.
Yeah, am I audible?
Yes, you are. Yes.
Okay, thanks. Basically, my question is if the company buy a product from a company from a vendor companies. So I mean, how do we measure that our product is successful? I have seen a lot of companies, they have struggled with adoption. So they cannot measure that adoption is not only one part of success. There are a lot of things come like this product give a value to the business, or is it impact to their business accelerations, that kind of things. I just want to know that which specific things we can say that this is a successful product, or we can measure that things. Am I clear?
Yes. I think we were talking maybe about a bit different things. So here I'm talking about adoption of the platform and not of the product of Miro.
Okay.
Product of Miro is, like, as you mentioned, is something that is bought usually by an enterprise company. And it would be another measurement of adoption.
Right.
And there, it depends on the business model. Because for Miro, it's the strategy is called land and expand. What it means, it's very similar to Figma. You you bring the freemium model, which is used by individual teams, individual people in the company, and then they become ambassadors that would go bottom up and try to get budget for this product. So that's there is like a bunch of metrics that Miro and Figma are using to understand if they are doing a great job
All right. Yeah, that's makes sense. Yeah, that's absolutely good. Thank you, Sultan, and thank you so much.
And what I mean with the adoption for platform product is that if you have have you used so for example, it would be a good example with Apple Store. Again, coming back to that. So we have a bunch of apps, including, I don't know, Instagram, all the number of great apps that are created. So for us, if we take Apple Store, we would look into the adoption of apps. So how many are installed and how many are used in the end by users in the long run. So we won't look at the 1 week, we will look at that continuously. And if you see that users adopt what is developed on top of Apple Store, then it makes sense to say that you're bringing value to your users. So the user of Apple is anyone who bought a phone. So that's an example how I look into adoption for platforms.
Oh, that's great. Thank you so much for this examples. It makes me clear, so clear. Thank you so much.
Oh, we actually 4 minutes to go and I have meeting at 2. So let's go quick. So the learnings, a summary of learnings. One is that I think you need to invest into internal APIs. And it's not that even if you don't plan to build external platform, you might want to invest in internal APIs so that when you want to expand, it's you already have done one step forward. And also building internal APIs means that you can easily distribute your components within the company. So I think it's always good to look at the product from the API first perspective. And then second one is about just product measurement rule, go for MVP, test and learn. And here I'm talking about the minimum viable product for platform is a minimum viable set of APIs that you want to give outside and see how it's adopted. Third one is about incentives. If you don't understand internally what you're bringing to external developers, they would not come. They would not understand, and they would not adopt your platform. So be mindful and have clear incentives for external developers. Then never too early to consider risks, because it might be also the brand risk or security risks for you. So put in place the rules and checks so that you take into account all the risks. And final one is about something message I delivered throughout this talk. It's a long-term game. So imagine you built all the APIs, you built all the documentation, you brought it to the market. And what happens next? Usually nothing happens. Because it takes time for developers to adopt APIs, test, try to build, reiterate. So it takes time. Give enough time to developers and wait and be patient. That's it. Two final thoughts is that on the same board, if you go here, I want us to talk about what can be improved in this talk, what went well, what can be improved. So just a small retro. Yulia, if you can reshare the link, that would be great. I see only 5 people here.
Sure, everybody's going to receive an email after this session with the link to your video, your presentation. Some people were already asking about it because they said it's super useful and they want to watch it again. And we'll put the link as well there.
And one more thing is I left here an article that is, I think, 9 years old, but it's still very, very insightful, and it gives good understanding why building products from a platform first perspective is beneficial. So just check it out and let me know what you think. That's it. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out on LinkedIn. Happy to connect and discuss any open questions.
Cool. Thank you so much, Sultan. This was super, super insightful. And I think 1 hour is not enough to go over this topic. So as I've said, we're going to share with everybody the content and keep the conversation going. Sultan is available for your questions. He will also be attending PMF if you want to watch his session there. If you want to work with Sultan, Miro is recruiting, so don't miss out on the link. It's also on my background. Sultan shared it. This is a super fast growing team, a wonderful product. You've met now Sultan. This is the kind of people you would work with. They're successful during a very challenging time, so that's always a good argument. So feel free to ask me, Sultan, where you can share more or just apply directly. And otherwise, we're not going to see each other for a few weeks because we have Product Management Festival. But in December, we're going to restart the sessions of PMF Connect. Until then, you can watch the PM nights. You can attend the festival, just reach out and keep the conversations going. Let's stay connected. I think there's a lot of information sharing which can help all of us. Thank you so much for the questions you've asked today. Thank you again, Sultan, and I wish you all a very productive day. I know you have all to jump in new meetings, including Sultan. So thank you again. I wish you a wonderful day and stay healthy and see you soon.
And thanks everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you very much. Bye.